All right, good morning again, everybody, or good afternoon, depending when you're working. So, today, the object of the lesson is time clauses. Time clauses are not particularly difficult except for French speakers because they differ in the verb tenses you have to use in those time clauses. Most of them start with obviously time markers, which might be when, as soon as, once, before, while. Think about or until. Think about those words because most of the time students just focus on this when. When they see a when, they know that it's incompatible with a future tense, as it is in French. So in French, you would use a French future if you want to project yourself, like when I am 20, I will buy a car. When I am 20 in French would be in the future tense. But where it differs is that in English, you will have to use, instead of a future tense, a present simple. The reason for this is a bit complicated and obscure is because you are positing the situation, right? You're assuming the situation when me be 20, I will do this, I will do that. So when I am 40, that's the situation. I just put it there. I will buy a house. The projection happens after you have presupposed this situation. And that's when you use this when I am 40. Very unnatural for French speakers. And as I said, for most students, the when is the trigger for using the present simple when they think about it and they want to express a future tense, but there might be others. But just bear in mind that when is incompatible with the future. You cannot get when and a future in the same sentence. This is absolutely impossible. I will do it as soon as as soon as they arrive. I will do it as soon as they arrive. In French, you would use, after this as soon as, you would use a future tense. But in English, you will use a present tense. So this time, the time clause is at the end, but it doesn't change anything. You have to use this present after as soon as. Now, the next part right now is slightly more complicated because when you use in French what we call the French future perfect, and you're going to say, what the hell does that mean? A French future perfect is what we call in French le futur antérieur, which is a really strange verb tense. It means that an action is completed or over in the future. For example, by the time you come home, I will be finished, right? At that moment. So you want to say that in the future, at some point, the action will be finished and will be over, right? So this is why you would say, I will do it as soon as I have finished. In order to translate this future perfect, instead of using the present simple, we will use the present perfect. So I will do it as soon as I have finished. It makes a difference, slight difference, but it's more a question of verb agreement. So this is when it becomes complicated. I will do it as soon as they arrive means I will do it the moment they arrive. But if you say I will do it as soon as I have finished or as soon as they have arrived, it means that the fact that I have finished or arrived will be completed by the time I start doing the action. I don't know if that's clear enough. So this is how you would use this present perfect. It's really a question of knowing the difference in French between the future tense and the future perfect. Let's say that if you are given a choice of answers in a multiple choice question, just make sure you go for either the present simple version or the present perfect version. And if you are offered both options, obviously, try to think about the context. Will the action be over by the time I do the action or not? Now, the point to bear in mind is when you use reported speech. So if I said he would call as soon as he arrived, this is the past version of he says he will call as soon as he arrives. So this is in the previous version, this is the version in which you would say, in order to express the future, I use the present simple. This is this version that we use here. So he says he will call as soon as he arrives. If you want to use it in a reported speech fashion, you would say he said he would call as soon as he arrived. So all the verbs in the sentence, due to the reported speech, will have to be taken one notch back into the past. Okay, so if we go back to the example I gave previously, I will do it as soon as I arrive. If I want to use this in a reported speech fashion, it's not really a question of time clause or anything. You just use every single verb in this sentence and you put it back one step back into the past. So she said that I becomes she, will becomes do it as soon as I will become she, and arrive will become arrived. So this time clause which changes the verb tense, or at least which changes verb tense from the French into English, is maintained, but what we did is we placed this sentence one notch back into the past. Let's have a look at another example, even more complicated. He said he would call when he arrived. So this time my sentence is already in the past. So if I want to report this speech, I would say he said he would call when he had arrived. This is called a verb agreement. That's simply a verb agreement. So you will use all the terms in the sentence, and we're using those two basic sentences rules at the beginning. We use present simple to replace the future tense. We use present perfect to replace the future perfect in French. And if we use back those examples, we use those examples again. I will do it as soon as I have finished. So I use this future perfect. That means that I will have finished when I do this. Okay, you want to place this in a sentence where you report the speech. You want to form a sentence where you report this sentence. You'd say she said that I will become she, will become would, do it as soon as I will become she, and have will become had, obviously, and then finished. So the second part of this lesson is not so much about time clauses, it's about how to report those time clauses if you are in a situation in which you report the speech of somebody. And I hope this helped in a way.